Friends, in today's video, we are going to talk about how we make a hybrid animal. That's going to be where we combine one animal with another animal and end up with a hybrid. Let's get started. Before we even touch Photoshop, the secret to success is this: pick images that are going to be beneficial to you as an artist, right? Like, as a basic, I've got my squirrel, right? I see that the squirrel, or this is a side view, we have the squirrel mostly in profile. I wanted to pick another animal that is also in profile. If this bird were looking straight at us, then that would be problematic, right? That's too much Photoshop work. We don't have time for that. So pick one that is in a similar angle and view as the other animal that you choose. The second part that matters: choose animals that have similar coloration. Both of these are in the brown to red family of colors. Make your life easier. I'm not trying to blend a vibrant blue jungle bird with a brown squirrel. If that's what you're into, that's fine. But if you want to have a true blending, let's make it easier. First thing we're going to do, we've got our two pictures. I have them both open in Photoshop. I'm going to go to the bird and I'm going to make my life easy. I'm going to go to select and choose subject and let Photoshop select it for me. You don't have to do too many adjustments here as long as you're satisfied with the selection. I'm really only be going to using the head and upper body of the bird anyhow. So right now I'm just going to do Control or Command C to copy, switch over to the squirrel, Control or Command V to paste, and there's the bird. Obviously, I need to do some resizing here. So to resize, the easiest way is to go to Control or Command T, T like transform, and then start to resize what you want to have for a better match. Now, if you need to rotate a little bit, no problem. Watch the pointer on the big screen. As I move outside of the blue boundary box, you'll see that it turns to a curving arrow, and then I can rotate and I can move. Sometimes what helps me when I'm working on a project like this is to make the bird layer a little bit transparent. How do I do that? I'm going to go to my layers panel. I'm clicked on the bird layer, it's selected, and I'm going to go to the opacity slider right here and bring the opacity down maybe around half. That way I can get the alignment more like I want. And I'm just kind of thinking about how does the back of the bird blend into the back of the squirrel. I'm thinking a little bit about what I'm going to do where the squirrel's hands are. Each image is different. This is where you need to make your own judgment. Once you're happy with the location, press the check mark on the top menu bar, bring the opacity of the top layer back up, and I'm actually going to hide the top layer by clicking on the eyeball. Why did I do that? Well, I don't want to include the squirrel's ears or nose in this, so I'm just going to use our friendly clone stamp tool and get rid of them. So if I go to the squirrel layer, and I have to click on that first, and then I click on the clone stamp tool on the left-hand toolbar, and I hold down the Alt or Option key and use that crosshairs to select part of the background, then I can go over here to the squirrel's ears and start to brush them away. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger by using the bracket keys. I want to take advantage of this beautiful blurry background that the photographer made for us and try to make it look as blended as possible so I'm not having as many blobs and whatnot where the ears used to be. Pay attention to where you're selecting from so that you can erase anything you don't want to have visible. And I'm going to do the same real quick with the squirrel's nose. and the whiskers. And every picture is different, so you're going to have to pay attention to where you are selecting from and do the best as you can to clone stamp in a way that looks somewhat natural. And we can always fine tune this as we work as well. It's not permanent, right? Okay, so I'm gonna click on the eyeball next to the bird layer. And I got rid of the ears and the nose, which is what I wanted. Life is good. Okay, now click on the bird layer so it's selected, and I want to add a layer mask to the bird layer. The layer mask button is located below the layers panel, and it looks like a white rectangle with a dark colored circle in the middle. And I'll click it. And now you'll see the layer mask has appeared. When we are layer masking, we have to make sure that that stays selected. If I accidentally click on the thumbnail for the bird, I'm no longer on the layer mask. So if strange things start to happen, make sure you're on the layer mask. Okay, for layer masking, we use a plain old brush. Pay attention on the left side of the screen to see which one I'm selecting. There's so many different brush icons that Photoshop has provided for us. You just make sure you have a good old brush. And what am I going to do with that brush? Right now, I just want to brush away the parts of the bird that I definitely do not need. I don't want the tail. I don't want this part of the body. I don't want this twig or the leftover legs. Okay. Now I can slow down and breathe a little more as I do some blending. So right now I've been working with a brush that is at 100% opacity. Look at the top menu bar of Photoshop where I'm clicking, and you can see I'm clicking on the opacity slider. It's at 100% now. If I move that down to about halfway and I start to brush, see how there's more of a blend between the two animals' textures. That fur and feather start to blend in more. Now, 50% is not a magic number. You work with what's best for you to get those two to blend. But the layer masking tool is really ideal for this. I want to try and keep the wing in place. And I'm now going to focus on what's happening around the bird's chest and the hands or paws of our little friend the squirrel. So I'm going to do a Control or Command plus and zoom in and bring my opacity here back to 100%. While I'm working, let me tell you, friends, why do I use this instead of just erasing? Because I can press the letter X on the keyboard and brush back. With erasing, it's more difficult. It's not as nuanced. It doesn't give you as much control, and I just don't like the tool as much. So now I'm going to play with opacity and do some more blending here. And I am just constantly changing my opacity. And if I take away too much, like I don't like how that looks, it's all good. I'm going to press the letter X on the keyboard, brush it right back in again. I think I've got a little bit of the nose of the squirrel still showing, so I'm going to temporarily click on the eyeball next to the bird layer, and I need to go back to Clone Stamp. It's all good. And I need to click on the squirrel layer in my Layers panel, then hold down the Alt key, sample some pixels, and let's just say goodbye to a little bit more here. And I'm just Alt Option clicking. Try and make that look a little better. Bring back the bird layer. Go back to the layer mask. Switch back to my brush. And brush it in. Kind of like how it looks with the wings there. I think I'm just going to leave them for now. That wasn't in my original idea, but sometimes things change. And there you have the birdle, or the squirrel, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you're doing this for an assignment in my class, I want you to make 2 different hybrid animals. So I've got my squirrel bird combo, and then I might do like a panda dog combo or a cat and a tiger combo. So I want you to practice and use 2 different ways of blending 2 different animals together. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial as much as I enjoyed making it. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.